Guys, we're learning more and more about the Juan Soto trade situation. We've got several MLB reporters coming out and saying he will be dealt before the August 2nd deadline. But last night, we got a major story on the situation. Will Patrick Corbin be involved in this deal, his horrible contract, which would kind of lower the cost if you're going to take on the full Corbin deal? It would kind of lower the prospect haul you would have to give up for Soto. You can see Jim Bowden of The Athletic hears that the Nationals want to offload the bad contract of Patrick Corbin in a possible Juan Soto trade. Corbin has a partial no-trade clause, but apparently that is not expected to impede a trade if the Nationals wanted to deal him. The problem, obviously, we know Corbin has a 6 ERA. He's got a really bad contract. He's owed $24 million in 2023 and $35 million in 2024. I didn't realize it was that much. Soto is said to be on the trade block, so blah, blah, blah. Basically, guys, the Nationals are selling their team, and to appeal to a potential new owner looking to buy the Nationals, they would like to get off of one of these horrible contracts. Of course, we know they also have probably the worst contract in baseball, very well likely could be the worst contract in MLB history with Steven Strasburg locked up. Corbin only has 2 more years left on his deal in 2023 and 2024, so it would be a little bit more easy to move that one. If they really do want to include Corbin, I think it could reopen the possibility of Juan Soto going to the Yankees if the Nationals just wanted the biggest haul back for Juan Soto and didn't want to offload the Corbin deal. I think the Yankees would have been clearly outbid by other teams with younger prospects. But if the Yankees really want to absorb part or all of that Soto contract, theoretically they could put a trade together that would, balance out also taking on the Corbin deal and trade all of their top prospects for Soto. We've also got several reports. Mike Rodriguez, he's not very reliable. I remember this guy during the Jose Ramirez saga. And I'll be honest with you, Jose Ramirez was close to getting traded. The only reason Jose Ramirez is not on another team is because he took a very team-friendly deal to be with the Guardians. But this dude was reporting that Jose Ramirez was going to get traded, I believe. He says, according to my sources, several teams, Mets, Yankees, Cardinals, Dodgers, White Sox, are preparing to try and offer a trade for Juan Soto. So the only team that I would be mildly surprised at would be the White Sox. All the other teams I've talked about in the past. But again, there's going to be a lot of teams that offer trades for Soto. That is not surprising. And then we've got this from John Morosi, who's an insider. He said this morning on MLB Network. Yes, I believe Juan Soto will be traded by August 2nd. Here are my thoughts on that situation, less than 2 weeks away. Basically, what Morosi ends up saying is this is as high as Juan Soto's value will be. We've went over that, guys. We understand that if they keep Juan Soto into the offseason, you're only going to get 2 playoff runs with him. Whereas now, if you trade for him, you're going to get 3. And then the hope is if you're offloading your entire farm system, you're going to be able to re-sign Soto or maybe even restructure his deal, buying out the last 2 years of his arbitration. This is just horrible. It says, here are 7 potential Juan Soto trades. This is from MLB Pipeline, and these deals are just terrible. I mean, I don't know who writes for this, but you can see the Mets trading for Juan Soto straight up. So they're not even taking on Corbin's deal. This is not even close to enough for the Nationals to trade Juan Soto in division. You know, Francisco Alvarez, the number 2 overall prospect in MLB, we've talked about him. He's great. But the number 2 prospect, like 4 top 100 prospects for Juan, it's just that's not even close to enough. The Yankees trade is even worse. You're giving up Gleyber Torres and Nestor Cortez. The trade makes no sense. I'm not even sure the Nationals would really want Gleyber Torres because if Gleyber Torres continues hitting this well, he's going to be due a new contract at the end of next year. So if you're the Nationals rebuilding, You're trading for Gleyber Torres. He's going to you're going to have to pay him a ton of money after next year. And if you're the Yankees, you're giving up Gleyber Torres, who has like an 850 OPS right now. Now, you are getting Juan Soto, but you're also giving up Nestor Cortez. You're gutting. So, what are these? You'd think they would come up with something better. Just go to the trade value simulator, and you come up with something way better. So this is an interesting one. This is the Dodgers taking on Corbin's deal, or at least part of it, because it also has the Nationals sending the Dodgers cash for Dustin May, the Bobby Miller, the 26th overall prospect, Andy Pages, the 47th overall prospect, the 70th. So yeah, that's not enough either. I think you would also have to include Gavin Lux in that deal to make it fair, even if you are taking on some of Corbin's contract. Of course, the team that gets Corbin, you could do a deal that's a little bit more complicated where the team that trades for Soto also takes on half of Corbin's deal while the Nationals pay for the other half. You could do something like that as well. The Padres are a very interesting team. The only thing I wonder with the Padres, they have three prospects that or three players that two of them are MLB ready right now. Abrams and Mackenzie Gore, who's pitching really well. Also Robert Hassel III, who's the number 23 overall prospect in baseball. If the Nationals want to offload Patrick Corbin, that's a lot of money for the Padres to take on, because they also have that terrible contract with Eric Hosmer that they tried offloading in the offseason and they couldn't do it. So that would be a lot to absorb. But if I'm the Nationals, if you're looking for three players, the best three young players you can get in any package, the Padres have with, Abrams, Gore, MLB ready, and then Hassel, who I believe is either in AA or AAA. He's pretty advanced as a prospect. That is a good haul. And also, if you include Corbin, that's like a deal. If I'm the Nationals, I'd be like, let's do this. And if I'm the Padres, I would almost have to sit back and be like, can we do this financially? Maybe we can only take on half of Corbin's deal. But that would kind of be a good deal. And then the Giants giving up. So the Giants, it's just tough to find a deal without involving Logan Webb, which is another situation where it would be counterintuitive because you'd want Logan Webb on your team with Juan Soto for the next several years. You wouldn't want to trade an MLB really good starting pitcher. You just want to trade all the prospects. But the Giants don't have enough to offer. Of course, if they took on Corbin, maybe they could just trade their top 5 prospects for Soto. And then the Mariners, this is another interesting one. George Kirby, who's already made his MLB debut, he's a top prospect. He was a top prospect. Jared Kelenic, we remember, he was a top prospect. He's really struggled. Marte, the number 19 prospect, Harry Ford. So that is a good return. Yeah, Emerson that is a nice return for the Nationals in that situation. And then I wanted to talk about 2 trades I just saw. This would be the Yankees, so I don't think they would give up Michael King. I don't think the Nationals would really want a reliever at this point where they're kind of in a rebuilding phase if they trade Soto, but this is kind of how it works out. You're trading all your top prospects, Dominguez, Volpe. This also includes Austin Wells, the catching prospect who I really like. You're getting Corbin's horrible contract. You're taking on all of it, as well as Juan Soto, and that would, per the value, be the same. If I'm the Nationals, there's no way. I'm really not interested in a reliever like Michael King. He's a good pitcher, but if I'm rebuilding and I'm looking to get value back for Soto, I want young, controllable position players or starting pitchers. I don't want relievers. And then this trade with the Padres that we talked about, so Corbin and Soto going for the big 3, which are 3 of the best young players you can get in a trade if you are the Nationals. Abrams, Gore, and Hassel. And, I've talked about the Cardinals and their situation. They have one of the best packages to offer. Of course, the Dodgers. If I had to handicap it, I would say if the Dodgers want Juan Soto, they're a team that can get Juan Soto. They would gut their farm system, of course. But they could also take on half of Corbin's deal. We saw them do something similar with the Mookie Betts trade where they took on some of David Price's horrible contract from the Red Sox. Very possible similar trade. You're trading a superstar Mookie Betts. The Red Sox, they weren't going to pay him. They had to trade him. Same thing with the Nationals. And then you have a horrible contract that happens to be a starting pitcher. With the Red Sox, it was David Price. With the Nationals, it's either Patrick Corbin or Steven Strasburg. But Steven Strasburg's contract, due to the length of it, is basically unmovable. A bigger market team would be more likely to take on Corbin's deal, or at least part of it, because at least it's off the books by 2025. The most likely situation I think happens is I think they split the Corbin contract in some form. Maybe the team that acquires Juan Soto takes on 75% of Corbin's deal. And then, of course, even if you're taking on Corbin, you're going to have to gut your entire farm system trading for 2.5 years of Juan Soto, with his contract being in arbitration right now. It's just the reality of the situation. Any team, if you're in position to where, as long as you're not giving up players, like the situation with the Giants where they'd have to give up Logan Webb, that's tough. That's a tough one. But the biggest intel we have right now, due to the Nationals wanting to be more appealing in terms of them selling their franchise to somebody else and them getting a new owner, they want as many bad contracts off the books. And this is a unique situation where you could get rid of a really bad contract while also adding ridiculous young talent in the form of young players or prospects. Maybe you want Gavin Lux from the Dodgers. Maybe you want one of the Cardinals' young outfielders along with several of their top prospects. You could still get them. But it does open the idea to a team like the Yankees, who probably wouldn't be able to afford Juan Soto by himself. If you ate some of Patrick Corbin's contract, the cost comes down a little bit. And obviously, you're going to be giving up Dominguez and Volpe and Austin Wells very likely. The one guy I would try and keep if I was the Yankees, I'd try and keep Austin Wells. But again, if you're trading for Juan Soto, I'll give up anyone. If I'm the Yankees, if I'm any of those teams, especially a team like the Yankees, who are desperate for that young superstar, they're in a position to where they really don't want to pay Aaron Judge $35+ million over the course of 7 years. It's just not smart. If you trade for Juan Soto, you can let Aaron Judge go, and Juan Soto can become your mega contract. And I think the situation with Juan Soto, any big market team that trades for Juan Soto, it's the perfect situation, because Juan Soto, I believe, will probably want a 7 or 8 year contract that runs through his age 31 or 32 season to allow for him to potentially get another mega deal, which is absolutely perfect. You'll pay Juan Soto $40 million per year at the age of 30 every day of the week. The issue that these teams run into, like the Yankees, they don't want to be in a situation where they're paying Aaron Judge $37 million at his age 35 season. Okay, that's why that whole contract has been so tough for the Yankees to do with Judge. Everyone's like, just give him the money. If Aaron Judge was 25 years old, they give him the money. The problem is he's 30, so it complicates things a little bit. But guys, that is the current situation. All of the intel we know, many people reporting. I mean, listen, it makes sense. If you're going to sell the team, you want to get rid of the Corbin deal. You want to trade Soto when he has all this value. You could completely get the Corbin deal off the books and trade Soto and get 3 top 50 prospects very easily, in my opinion. That's what Juan Soto is worth right now. That's what he's going to command. And the team that trades for him understands they're very likely going to be re-signing him to a long-term contract. That's going to benefit them greatly because Juan Soto's so young. So it's going to be a good contract either way. That's why a team is going to give up a ton for Juan Soto if this trade does commence before the August 2nd trade deadline, like some of these insiders are saying it's going to happen. We'll see. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.